I'm Joanna DeCellis, editor of Club and Resort Chef. I'm here today with Sam Broad, executive chef of the Landings Golf and Athletic Club. Thank you so much for joining us today,
Absolutely.
Chef. So tell us a little bit about the Landings.
Well, the Landings is a very large property. We have 5 traditional clubhouses or 6 18-hole golf courses. And then in terms of food and beverage, where it's, again, a fairly robust operation, we do about $22 million a year in food and beverage, which has been not always that way. I've been there for 7 years. And when we first started, I think we probably did about half that volume.
Wow.
And we've been really blessed just to continually grow and expand. And while COVID was detrimental, the offspring of that is that a lot of folks really wanted to move to more of a private setting, specifically in the South. So our membership numbers have never been higher, and we've been renovating and building new clubhouses. And so It's been...
So is that growth because of the growth, like the growth of actual physical space on property, or just more people eating more food?
Both, I think. So we have, when the club first started in the 70s, it was just what I consider like a nuclear country club. 1 clubhouse, 2 golf courses, tennis, pool, and those called the Marshwood Clubhouse. And when I was first there at the club, and it wasn't just on my own doing, but like my general manager and food and beverage director, also like there's no vision here. We're just like kind of a homogenized club where the menu is this and that, and they're all kind of what I would consider like a nuclear club. You gotta be everything to everyone.
Right.
And at the Landings, we don't have to be boxed in that way. We have multiple dining outlets and dining facilities that we've, over the course of a number of years, we've rebranded all of them. And
so they each have their own identity now?
Each have their own identity. And what we did is we basically got a piece of paper and said, okay, this is where this needs to be, and this level of formality, this price point. And again, on a private residential community, you don't want people to leave. So, and I learned this a number of years ago. People come to us to dine, but they also come to eat, right? And if you think about it, every single day, do you always just want to go and eat fine dining? We do everything. We can do from down here all the way up. So we had built, a vision of okay, this is Palmer Steakhouse, which is, formal white linen, has, front and back servers, and, a higher level of formality, a higher price point, and all the way down. And we were a great community, a lifestyle community that, offered a lot more, again, than just golf, which golf is king at the Landings. Like I said, we have 6 18-hole golf courses. That's a big portion of what we do. But food and beverage, at one time, the folks who were there before me did a really good job of laying the groundwork for the success that we've had, but it was really an afterthought, food and beverage was, to a certain degree. And there's been a cultural paradigm shift, in the last number of years.
That's great. Good for you. I mean, that's not an easy shift to make at a place with 6 golf courses.
Yeah.
So that speaks to the quality of not only the food, but the caliber of the culture that you've created.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your team. How big is it? And how do you create a space and an atmosphere where that kind of volume is not overwhelming?
Right. Well, and that's a good question. And it's one that I still kind of ask myself every once in a while, because it's not easy. But we have about 150 cooks and stewarding staff that work in the culinary team. And each clubhouse has what we call a clubhouse executive chef. I have people on my team who I know have my back. But the way you do that is you let them know that you have their back, and treat everyone with respect and with dignity, and hold everyone to the same standard that I hold myself to. I'm one person. I have 2 hands. So I have a lot of people that I trust, and occasionally I verify, but for the most part, I let them do their thing. I said, again, with guide rails, I'm at a point now where I really focus on growing the business, and I spend a lot of time in banquets, because that's one of the spots where things are different every day. During the height of COVID, overnight, we lost $4 million in banquet sales, which is like, what are you going to do? And we were determined, and much to the club's board and the executive team, were determined not to lay anyone off. No one. And what we did is we basically started Landings Instacart, per se. It's not what we called it, but we used the banquet team to the culinary banquet team to fill orders, and then we used the banquet service staff to deliver the food. And we gave them the option. We said, look, this is the type of work. If you don't want to do it, that's okay, but this is what we have. And everyone stayed on board. And, you know, over the last number of years, is that staffing is a real issue, and keeping up with that demand, both in how people are compensated, but really how you also bring a culture of excellence where people want to come, and young culinarians want to work with, you know, folks that are like that. And, you know, culinary school, which I am a culinary graduate, but also really worked with a lot of apprentices, and apprenticeship was the way of the past, and I think that it's the way of the future. So we are on the cusp of starting a full certified apprenticeship program, and giving our young culinarians a path to not only having an apprenticeship certificate through the American Culinary Federation, but also a pathway to graduate with an associate's degree.
Wow.
So
That's a big
we've been
endeavor.
working on that. And the reason that we're doing that, one, it's always been one of my big passions. It's kind of like one of the highlights of something that a goal that I feel like I need to achieve, to give back, because I really like teaching, but also it solves a problem, and it's not an immediate thing. You know, it's a long-term fix. You know, if you take 6 to 10 apprentices, and it's essentially about 3 years, you know, and you have 3 classes, you know, you could have 18 folks, you know, that
With
are
you for a
with you,
solid period
and then
of time.
some of those graduates will want to stay and be on your management team, and it's a good way to have a really long-term succession plan.
That's great. And it
Yeah.
doesn't just solve the problem for you, it starts to solve the problem for the industry too,
Yeah.
right? Because now you are also helping contribute to the pool of applicants nationwide.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. It's
Mhm.
not an easy endeavor.
It's
So
not.
as you've gone through that, and you know, you had the idea, what was that process like for others who might want to do something similar?
Well, I'm going to be fully transparent. We've partnered with a consultant who I've known for many, many years. I grew up right outside of Hershey, and I partnered actually with my high school culinary arts instructor, right? And
Wow.
he is an apprentice of the Hotel Hershey's program. You know, you can get online, and it's written out on the ACF website. It's through the American Culinary Federation, and there's many different levels of apprenticeship that they offer. I think that there's 3, and you just got to really go through the motions, and don't underestimate how much logistical and organizational things you have to do to really set this up for success. Just like anything, that the foundation has to be set for it to really be successful and to grow and prosper. So
It's a lot of moving parts. How do you keep your finger on the pulse of all of that?
not just being a firefighter, because and I still am, don't get me wrong, I got a really big water hose occasionally when the you know what hits the fan, which it does. We're in a messy business, food and beverage, and so sometimes I'm a firefighter, but most of the time I just like to cook and like to coach.
Well, thank you so much for joining
Yeah,
us today, Chef.
absolutely.
I appreciate it. For more episodes like this, check out our site, clubandresortchef.com.